supplemental making of podcast.
I'm Amelia Tyler.
And I very definitely am Paul Hardy.
And together we are Barely Human Productions. But for this making of, we're not Barely Human Productions because it was made before we became Barely Human. We weren't even slightly human. We were just sort of primordial ooze. The film we're talking about today is Blood Actually, which was Paul and my first project together. It's about vampires.
Ah, lovely, lovely vampires.
He wasn't saying that a year ago. In fact, Blood Actually came about because I said, I've always wanted to do a vampire film, let's write one of them. And Paul went, oh God, no.
But I very swiftly followed up with, although actually, if we make it a romantic comedy, that might be interesting.
I think your exact words were, can I take the piss?
That as well.
So yes, from a mutual dislike of overly dramatic and dark vampire films that disappear up their own backsides came Blood Actually. Tell all the lovely people how this came about.
Well, fundamentally, we had no money. However, we were, at the time, working on a feature film, Schrodinger's Girl, for our good friend Hugh Bowen, in which I was line producer, and Amelia was playing... what were you playing? A number of roles.
I think I played 6 in total on this. It's a parallel universe sci-fi feature film, so everybody tends to pop up more than once in it, but I was the voice of Q, the computer, and various other weird characters. Was sitting around one day and decided to make a film.
And because we had access to, a crew... and
the good thing about being on films is they're a crew.
This crew had... some equipment, we were able to just convince a large part of that cast and crew to come back with the equipment, thanks especially to Mr. Chris Pinches, a couple of weeks after the shoot of Schrodinger's Girl, and spend one wonderful Sunday with us making a vampire short film.
The convincing that went on during this mainly involved us saying, do you want to come and make another film? It's about vampires and it's really silly. Yes. That's pretty much how every conversation went.
So, the first thing we had to do, after having written the script, was go out and find somewhere to shoot it.
Which involved us basically spending a day walking around Leamington Spa, going to all the pubs, which was nice. We managed to find one particularly fantastic location, the White Horse in Leamington, who not only wanted to help us out, but were willing to help us out for free.
We love them, we praise them, they are gorgeous and beautiful.
And I think anybody else who's looking to make films of their own, it is always worth approaching local businesses because it's a very nice, you scratch my back, I'll scratch yours situation.
Yeah, especially small businesses that want to try and make a name for themselves in the community.
And the other location was Spencer Yard.
This was actually the old Methodist church just next to that. So you go down one of these alleyways, duck under the razor wire, you try and avoid the triffids, and then the ninjas try and get you.
There aren't any ninjas or triffids there that I saw, but there definitely was razor wire, and we did have to pay a lot of attention to health and safety during that shoot just to make sure everybody was safe.
So we were shooting this thing on the HVX200 camera provided by Panasonic, which is a camera that's a couple of years old now, but it's still one of the first ones that was available, which not only shot high definition, but would shoot it onto memory cards rather than onto tape, which made life very, very easy because you don't have to mess around with tapes, and you just all becomes data, and you only then have the problem of backing up that data and hoping that the hard drive doesn't just commit suicide.
I let technically minded people deal with things like that because I know my limits. I just learn my lines.
Does that mean I can witter on now for about half an hour?
Yeah, go for it.
You won't even talk to me at all?
No, don't.
Okay. But yes, not only did we have the HVX200, which is a lovely camera all by itself, but on the front of it we had mounted an SG Pro. Now this is a lens adapter system, which allows you to put 35mm lenses onto the front of this camera, so that instead of it looking like an ordinary video lens, it starts looking like film. We had a second camera as well. Our good friend Paul Uller, who had helped us out focus pulling on Schrodinger's Girl, had his own HVX200, which he brought with him, which meant that we were able to actually run 2 cameras at once and get more coverage.
Very useful for the bar scene.
And although it wasn't using that same lens, at that point it didn't matter quite so much because the background wasn't so far away. So if you know what you're looking for, you can tell the difference. But the grade, in the end, which matched the colours and everything else, that helps us get past that. Grade applied by Mr. Hugh Bowen, by the way. Of course, that means you've got the little trick of recording sound onto one of these cameras and then having to use the capture board so that both cameras can then sync up to the one sound source.
Ably manned by First AD JJ Bates.
Woo!
Who I tried to distract a lot during that, but he was having none of it. No
he
fun
was
at
absolutely
all.
Dedicated, and next thing we know, basically he will be running the film industry.
Yeah, it's likely. So, on the day of the shoot, we turned up at the White Horse at some ungodly hour.
And we immediately set to trying to make the back room into a dark and mysterious vampire-y kind of pub.
Not that we're dissing the room, but it looked significantly more beautiful when our set dresser, James Lawton, had got his hands on it. There was lots of gilt and candles, and it was very beautiful.
I believe I'm actually looking at one of the set dressing items right now on the wall.
Yeah, I might have stolen that a bit. The little butterflies picture. It's very pretty.
He
did give it to me.
Yeah. But I mean, there's an awful lot we could do there with just tea lights, huge numbers of tea lights, and some red drapes. There was some purple kind of cloth that was covering up all these mirrors that were in the room.
That was wallpaper.
We thought, obviously, that having a film at vampires in a room full of mirrors might not be a good idea, so we had to deal with that. We don't shoot in sequence, of course, for the simple reason that we're not insane.
So while we were setting up the bar, me and a couple of the girls went upstairs into the toilets.
I don't wish to know about the rest of the story.
It was a bit bizarre to shoot the infamous fang licking scene, which now sounds even more dodgy than it did then. And the girl reflected in the mirror doing her makeup is Miss Natalie Gardner. Natalie was the body double for the lead actress on Schrodinger's Girl, and we just thought we have to get her face in there because she spent so much of the shoot for Schrodinger's with her back to the camera, acting her head off.
Acting her hair off.
Acting her hair off. We thought we had to get her in there somewhere.
So we got that done, and then we headed downstairs where everything was beautiful and wonderful, and we spent quite a long time shooting stuff in the bar.
And all the extras in that scene, apart from Sophie Hancock, who was our wardrobe lady, and Bo Davies, who took our stills, they'd all been involved in Schrodinger's Girl somewhere along the way. So you can see Damien Hayes there, lurking in the background, chatting up Sophie. Abby Tartell and Al Comby, obviously. Nino Marsala, who was our catering guy on SG, and he was a brain slave with me.
Simran, who did all the continuity on Schrodinger's Girl and who was the first person you see in shot.
And Tim Roberton, who provided our fangs.
And made all kinds of crazy props for Schrodinger's Girl.
Fantastic. The fangs look wonderful, but let's just say Al Convey dribbles a bit when he's got the longer tooth in. So thanks for that, Al.
The bar scene was the one which took the longest to film because we actually had to light this one, unlike most of the rest of the film.
One of the important things to remember, if you are asking people to work for free, first off, check the guidelines and regulations for that sort of thing, because there are certain situations where that's not legal for people to work in positions such as runners unpaid. So check it out, make sure you're doing it all by the book. Another important thing to remember is if you are asking people to do it for free, look after them. Don't expect them to work way into the night. Make sure you feed them nicely. I think the only thing we really shelled out for was sandwiches for everybody, just to keep them all well fed, because a happy crew is a productive crew.
And also not trying to kill you.
Yeah. So we're in a bar shooting a night scene. However, it's 9 a.m. on a Sunday morning. How do we combat that, Paul?
What we do is we get some black plastic bags and we stick them over the head of the leader. No, we stick them onto the windows.
Yes, bin bags.
Also, drapes are good for this if you've got black drapes. This is something you'll find at theatres a lot. Covering up windows and then lighting it to make it look like night. Now, this is okay if you're indoors. However, we also had to shoot an exterior night scene, and this is a little bit more difficult. But nevertheless, we did
doable.
it.
Yes, thanks to the lovely Mr. Hugh Bowen, who's a bit of an ace when it comes to all the graphic-y stuff. We managed to shoot day for night, so all the alleyway scenes were all shot in broad daylight and then altered using magical computer gnomes or something. So yeah, thanks Hugh Bowen, you rock. Music.
You can either use royalty-free music, which means you spend about £35 and buy a CD, or you find a composer, which is where Alice Truman comes in. Every piece of music you hear in that was done by Alice.
Yeah.
From this sort of driving, grindy kind of music right at the beginning to the wistful, happier kind of thing at the end.
Plonky fun.
Yes.
So yeah, that was our film. We made it, we put it online, and people seemed to really, really like it. It won the most viewed in, I forget which month it was, but in 2008 on icehole.com. Go and check that out if you haven't already. And from that, we got a cash prize, which we put in the budget for our next production.
Yay.
So thank you, Icehole, for making SatNav Lifestyle possible. We got a really fantastic public response to this film online. I think it's currently running at about 11 or 12 pages of comments just on Icehole. And Paul and I decided to write a feature film version, which may be coming to a cinema / TV screen /
bargain bin.
Yeah, / just bin near you very soon. We will keep you posted, but it will be following the same characters.
And what happened next?
Dun dun dun. Right, we should leave it at that.
This is Paul Hardy and Amelia Tyler signing off.
Bye.
Bye.